Previous tutorials have showed us how we can load a model into Immusion, then apply a whole bunch of image textures to it to create a photorealistic model, and then how to export that model into a web page so that other people can see it remotely. This tutorial is going to go through a slightly different workflow for how to essentially achieve the same result. It's appropriate to use this workflow if you already have a model that already has textures applied to it. For example, I have a NextEngine laser scanner that I use to create 3D models all the time, and the software from that product actually can export an OBJ model that has textures applied to it. Now let's see what happens when I load that model into Immusion. As we can see here, all the textures that were included in this OBJ model have been stripped, and the reason is because Immusion was initially designed to be a tool that allowed you to fuse images onto a model. Well, for this particular case, we already had images fused onto this model, and so we didn't want Immusion to strip them. We just want to use those particular textures, and that should save us a lot of work. Because recall, it took a while to get to use Immusion to actually align the model with each image. So we want to skip that step, and so the way we do that is we go to the App menu and select Quick Model to HTML. Now I'm going to load my model in this little app. And once it's loaded, now we can see it actually preserved the textures this time. So this can actually save us a lot of work. Instead of having to reload Immusion and reapply all the textures were already applied for us. So Immusion preserved them this time. Now there's no way for me to add any additional textures, but that's okay because all the textures that I want applied have already been applied. Now, like in our previous tutorial, when we exported a model to a web page, we had to make sure if we want to use it, if we want to host it on our domain or on our web server, then we got to be sure to embed the appropriate domain licenses. And please see previous tutorials for more information on how to purchase licenses if you don't already have them. But we need to make sure that we check all the domain licenses we want to embed in this particular model. And once we've done that, we simply choose Save as HTML. And we'll call this bowl. And once Immusion exports this web page, it's going to actually it's going to display the web page in your default browser so you can see what it looks like. Now, just like when we exported an Immusion project to a web page, there's a couple things we want to keep in mind. Immusion it exports the web page just with using the file name that we specified, which in this case was bowl.html. But it also exported a whole bunch of other files that we need to make sure to copy over to our web server as well. Otherwise, the model won't display properly. All the files, have the same prefix as the HTML file, so they should be easy to locate, except for the JNLP and the jar file. These are the same for all models, so you'll need to make sure at least some copy of this is available somewhere on your web server in the same directory as your exported web models. And so basically, what we've shown here is there's a shortcut. If you've already got a model that's got textures, you can use this feature to load the model. And then export it without actually having to do a lot of work in between, the way you normally do with Immusion. For this particular demonstration, I used a laser scan model that I created with my laser scanner, but you can actually use a variety of different model formats. One of the most interesting is the Collada model format, because you can actually create a model using Google SketchUp and apply textures to it. Then you can export from Google SketchUp, you can export your model as a Collada file. You can load that Collada file into here, and then you'll be able to create a web model from your Google SketchUp model that you can actually interact with in real time. Other model formats are supported as well, although you may notice if you use a lot of advanced features, some of those advanced features won't carry through. For example, if you have transparent components, currently this particular tool doesn't support that. But for the most part, you can usually get some pretty good results using this tool as a shortcut to the basic Immusion workflow, which involves manually loading a model and applying images one by one.